2 weeks ago, we had a little fun with Peterson due to his unwillingness to speak to leftists, and since then, to be fair, he has actually gotten around to talking to one, which is Kyle Kulinski. So let's see what happened in that conversation.
If you were an American citizen, you were here in the 2020 election, would you have voted for Trump, Biden, nobody, or a third-party candidate?
I don't know. It's very hard to answer those questions until you're actually in the situation. When Clinton was facing off against Trump, for a very long time, I felt that I would have voted for Clinton. I felt that she had at least the administrative background and the governmental experience to know what the job was and to handle it. I felt that Trump was a wild card, which he most definitely was. Then I went to this, the night of the election, I went to this Republican gala in Canada at a private club watching the election, and they did a straw vote there. And in the straw vote, I cast my vote for Trump. And that surprised me. And it was something I sort of switched on last minute. And the reason I switched, I would say, is because I thought Clinton betrayed the working class. In fact, that's why she lost the election. It isn't something I just felt. That's definitely what happened. And so I thought, to hell with you. I'd rather have this wild card in here with his spontaneous lies than have you in here with your programmatic, powered, mad, driven, pre-authorized lies. And so I don't know. It's hard to tell what you do in a situation until you're actually in it.
Do you think Trump as president in his 4 years also betrayed the working class?
Not in the same manner, no.
Really?
I think Trump did some things that were really quite spectacular.
Like
one
what?
of them.
Like what?
Well, how about no war?
Yeah, it is funny. Like he really thought that he was going to support Clinton, but then he was at some like private dinner for Republicans, and he just, I don't know. I mean, he just ended up being pro-Trump. I mean, it's just the weirdest damn thing that this happens.
The strangest thing, I actually did spend an evening at the National Democratic Club, and at the end of it, I was all like, "Yeah, Pelosi." So I get it. I totally understand.
And I could understand, right? Given some of Jordan Peterson's, commitments, that he might have all sorts of reasons for supporting Trump. That that he thinks, like Peterson, I remember back in 2018, seemed to be very concerned that he was going to be, sent to I don't know, a gulag in the north of Canada somewhere for not saying his students' preferred pronouns. So, maybe he thought that, that Trump was less on board with that sort of thing, and like, he could support Trump because of that. It's like, all right, I understand it. Conservatives are going to conservative. Like that's that makes sense on its own terms. But the reason that he gave here is just fascinating, right? That like he says that the reason that he ended up deciding that he was rooting for Trump after all is that Hillary Clinton betrayed the working class, which is, by the way, the first inkling I've ever had that Jordan Peterson took an interest in the working class, right? That the as far as I'd ever known, right? His only sort of source of engagement with the working class, was telling them how they could be promoted out of the working class if they stood up straight and cleaned their rooms, and and all of that sort of thing. So he has this newfound concern for the working class, and the first thing he does with it is support Donald Trump, who's like, Kyle's actually being very nice about it in that clip, but like, Trump spent 4 years on this orgy of deregulation and tax cuts for rich people. He appointed super duper hardcore union busters to the National Labor Relations Board, and they overturned a bunch of Obama era precedents that, in the direction, right, of making it harder, under the Trump NLRB to organize unions. I mean, look, I can respect somebody who said, Hillary Clinton, I mean, it's kind of a funny phrase. Hillary Clinton betrayed the working class. It sort of makes it sound like she was a socialist at one point, and then she, and then she had some, I mean, I'm pretty sure Hillary always sucked, but like, if you're going to say, Hillary has supported all sorts of things that are terrible for the working class, then I'd say, yeah, I agree with your premise, right? That's true, right? We could argue about what to do with that, right? Tactically or strategically in terms of voting, but I mean, the premise is true. And somebody who is like, look, I can't hold my nose and vote for the lesser evil. It's still too evil. I'm just gonna not, even if I live in a super swingy swing state, I'm not gonna pull that lever for Hillary because she's just too bad. So therefore, I'm gonna, I don't know, vote for Jill Stein, or maybe the Socialist Workers Party had a candidate. You could vote for them, or you're just gonna stay home, right, and like do shots and angrily listen to the Internationale. It's like I can understand and respect all of those, but even if I might disagree tactically, right, but like Trump, you're going to support Trump because you just care so damn much about the workers?
It seems kind of akin or of a sort with like this weird pivot that Charlie Kirk is trying to, they're trying to do this rhetorical pivot, but we're kind of yet to. My guess would be that he's assuming that the working class, like as by and large, has the same like social politics as he does, right? And then Hillary, and I guess probably the move is that Hillary abandoned them by giving into woke politics, which is then made the argument is that woke politics are just like rich idiot politics, and that's how she abandoned it. That's the only, I assume that's the move he's trying to make, but maybe that's reading too much coherence into it.
No, I mean that's good hustle, I like it. I don't know if that's what he's thinking or not, but it may be, right? I mean, this is the kind of thing that people say sometimes. I was going to say to pick on someone who's at least on a show that I like, even if I don't particularly like his politics, Sagar and Jenny, if you read his review of Thomas Frank's populism book, he sort of floats this move there, that's like, well, who's to say what's real populism? It's all populism, because like, there's more than just economics, there's culture, and that's, and I talk about this actually. So I just, last week I had an article come out of the Daily Beast, called, Culture War Red Meat is all the GOP serves the working class, I think is what it was called. Yeah, there we go. That's it. Raw deal. Nice little graphic there. You can see with the bloody steak with the crucifix and the flag coming out of it. So they really, somebody at the Daily Beast graphics department really outdid themselves there, and you can see like some flags with like feminist and gay icons and iconography, and like sort of marinating in the blood.
Shout out to people who make those graphics, because often they're just like really, I mean, just a lot of publications. I'm like, the graphics department is like, should get a raise. Like,
no, seriously, I don't want whatever they're being paid, they should get a raise, for sure. But I quote, I quote that line from Engetti's, review of the Thomas Frank book in there, and what I point out is, it's like, well, look, what this is missing. One of the things it's missing, besides the fact that, like, this is kind of the W.E.B. Dubois. I'm never sure how to say that. But
I believe it's Dubois, but
Dubois,
people accept Dubois because it's just one of those weird common things.
Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, the W.E.B. Dubois' point about, when he uses this phrase, the visible wages of whiteness, that like it's often been misunderstood later, but like his point in context, right? I mean, he's a Marxist, right? He thought he thought that it's like, no, it's not like, oh, see, this is this great privilege, that like Southern white workers are getting out of this. Like he thought they were being sold a sack of shit, right? I mean, that they it's like fool's gold, right? It's like, oh, like you feel like you're getting something out of it, but you're not, it's this point, right? Like you're actually getting division and all this stuff, right? But it's like the same kind of point here. That's like, look, I don't think you can have, cultural like if populism means anything in like if it doesn't just refer to a rhetorical style, in which case, sure, anybody can use it. Fair enough, right? Like, you could use it for any purpose. But like, if it means that there's some substantive sense in which you're siding with like the people against elites, then there is no such thing as cultural populism, because the nature of cultural divides is that they split people up at every level of the economic hierarchy, right? I mean, there are people in the working class with extremely socially conservative views and with extremely socially liberal views and everything in between, right? I mean, that's how culture works, right? So the tendency is not at all, right, to like unite working class people against some sort of elite, right? I mean, it's to that kind of supposed populism, right? I mean, you're just attacking each other and often like doing in the conservative variant, like often doing like really awful things to prove that you have the right cultural sensibilities. But like, that's not I mean, if that's what he means, right? I mean, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, you're attacking socially liberal elites, I guess, but you're also attacking socially liberal, workers more so, right? And there's no, there's no sense in which you're taking the side of the working class as a whole, against any sort of elite if you do that. And meanwhile, on anything that actually matters in material reality, right? I mean, not that the social policies that might be waged in the sort of name of culture war don't matter materially, they do, right? But like, in terms of like direct sort of people versus elites questions in material reality, like, what are you actually doing, right? I mean, you're supporting, I mean, again, Trump, was like Trump tried to take away, like attack the Medicaid expansion, right? Tried to kick a shit ton of people off of Medicaid. He tried to make it much harder to get bridge cards, right? What's colloquially known as food stamps. That they like on every possible level, right? I mean, he was waging war against poor and working class people, and bringing it to the Daily Beast article. Right, they have like the sort of occasion for that article is that the Texas GOP just put out its state party platform, which the things that people really noted about it, like in most of the press coverage, were like, one, had like all kinds of super blood curdling reactionary social policies, of course, right? Really went after gay and trans people, and two, that it had that like it officially committed them to the Trumpist conspiracy theory about the 2020 election, right? And those are both big deals, right? Those are both worth writing about. But the reason I wrote the article is that what I didn't really see anybody talking about was that it, like, the way I put it in the article is that like they committed themselves to this platform to every possible pro-corporate and anti-worker policy, short of reinstituting child labor in coal mines, or giving bosses the right of prima nocta, right? I mean, it's like and like not that far short, of those.
Give them time. They're working on the good arguments for that.
Yeah, fair enough. So it's like pretty amazing in light of this kind of rebranding, right? That Jake is talking about. That like, which like plenty of Texas Republicans have participated in. Ted Cruz had this whole speech at CPAC last year about how it's not just the party of country clubs anymore. It's the party of hardworking blue collar men and women. And he starts listing off all these categories about, waitresses and pipeline workers. And, it's like, horseshit, right? I mean, like you want to privatize Social Security.
You have been watching free public content from Give Them an Argument. To access every single episode of the show, the main show on Monday nights, all of the streams, all of the debate breakdowns, all of the patron-exclusive postgames on Monday nights, all of the patron-exclusive bonus episodes every week, and much, much more, go to patreon.com/Ben Burgis. I cannot resist ending this with, don't be foolish.